Hi, my name is Cadet Lopez. I'm MS4 at Loyola University Chicago, and I'm going to talk about air assault school. So air assault school is around 10 days. There is the day 0, where it's like your initial testing phase, where you got to do some like rigorous PT as well as an obstacle course and the 2-mile run. For the 2-mile run, you have to be around 18 minutes and under for the 2-miler, as well as complete most of the obstacles, minus one of the major ones. They will consider things such as the Weaver and the tough one. The tough one is like a very tall rope that you have to climb, as well as like walking across like a couple beams. It's usually what gets a lot of people at the school, so it's good to train for something like that. So the 2 major ones you can't fail are the Weaver and the tough one. The other ones you get to have like one fail, for example, the low belly over, or just like the one where you crawl through some barbed wire. Those are pretty small ones that they're not too worried about. Those are called supplemental obstacles. So there's multiple different air assault schools you can go to as a cadet. One of them could be the one at Fort Campbell, the Sabalauski Air Assault School. There's also one at Fort Moore, formerly known as Fort Benning, at the Warrior Training Center, and there's also one hosted at West Point. So there are 3 phases of air assault school. The first one is going to be aircraft familiarization, as well as this Hammond R signals, how to like veer an aircraft. The second phase is going to be all about sling loading. You learn about the sling load, weight capacities, as well as what vehicles can carry what aircrafts, as well as the low limits of those aircrafts. And then the third phase is just all rappelling. You learn to rappel off a tower, from like a wall to an open-ended tower, and then finally at the end, rappelling off of a helicopter. So I got the slot based on my OML as well as my physical fitness. I initially started at Fort Benning, formerly known as Fort Moore. From there, I failed phase 2 and had to recycle at Fort Campbell, where I finished up the school. I think the most interesting part is rappelling off a helicopter. It's really probably the funnest part about it, just because it's so high speed and cool, I guess. Very relaxing day as well, just sitting out there and waiting to rappel and going up there. The most stressful part has to be the sling load exam. It's usually what gets a lot of people besides the rope. I know because that's what got me the first time around. But the main goal is not make sure the nerves don't get to you, and just study hard, because there's a lot of information that you're gonna need to know from that book in order to pass the practical exam. I saw most people feel the rope and the sling loading. I would say when I went to Fort Moore, I saw around 50 cadets get dropped just from the rope alone, and then a couple more from the sling loading. So it's a 50% pass-fail rate. That's why you see a lot of people, when it's the second time around, they do end up getting it. But yeah, it is a challenging school, but it's not impossible, and there's a lot of just like perseverance and maybe sometimes luck involved. My funnest memory was just like going back to the PX after a day and getting some teriyaki chicken. That's probably like my most favorite memory of it. I would always just end the day with some teriyaki chicken. So my advice to cadets that get slots is just to make sure you keep up with your physical fitness. If you know like the requirements, you know what like times you have to run and how much you have to run, just make sure you work on it as best as you can. Also, don't be afraid to look up resources online on the different type of sling loads and the different type of like helicopters and stuff you're going to be working with, because going in blind, though it is fine, did hinder me a little bit, having to like learn from scratch what a UH-60 was and learning what a CH-47 looked like, because a lot of that has to do with sling loading, and there's a lot of academic studying involved with that. All right, for cadets that don't have the slot but really want to go, just make sure you stand out and get your physical fitness up there, and just have a good GPA. It really helps to have a really good GPA. So the last day ends with a 12-mile ruck march. At Fort Campbell, I had to wake up like at 01 to go to a ruck formation around 02, 03. And then once you're complete, you have a little break, and then you come back for the graduation. So it's a very full, intense day, but it's a lot of fun at the end. My graduation, I felt pretty great, proud of myself. I worked hard, I tried my best, and came out on top. So the most valuable thing I got from the school was being able to like know I could pass it, and then seeing next people go to the school, I'm able to mentor them and teach them, just so they're not in the blind as I was before. I think the more people at your program that have the badge, the better chance of success that people have. So for a lot of cadets, it's their first time in the real Army, and you're going to run into a lot of new NCOs, a lot of privates, and a lot of captains that have already been in for a while. So you're really put on the spotlight as a cadet, as it's your first time in those like real Army scenarios. So I think it's a really valuable experience, not just to get the badge and all the training and stuff, but just like, to immerse yourself in what you're about to get into in the future. All right, and if you're going soon, good luck and be safe, and don't fall off the tower, because people do sometimes fall off the tower.